Internet sleuths are guessing that Kate's absence may be related to her husband and the future King of England, William, having an affair.
The room was quiet. Everyone was waiting. Prince William was standing, looking nervous. Then, the paper with the DNA test was handed over. He read it. His face went pale. And just like that, he fell to the floor. People rushed to help him, but the damage was already done. The truth was out. The test showed something no one ever expected. Rose Hanbury's son was his. For years, people had talked about it in whispers. Stories, rumors, secrets, but nothing was ever proven. Until now. That one paper, just a few lines on it, changed everything. It told the world that the boy wasn't just a friend's child. He was family. Royal family. This wasn't just a small secret. It was something that could shake the palace, the people, and everything they believed about the future of the royal family. And in that moment, as William lay on the courtroom floor, the weight of it all was too much to carry. A royal collapse. No one expected. The courtroom was quiet, tension thick in the air. Then came the moment that would rock the British monarchy. Prince William, the future King of England, reportedly collapsed in his seat after a shocking DNA result confirmed the impossible. The son of Rose Hanbury, his alleged longtime rumored mistress, was not just any child. He was his. That one result, sealed in a confidential envelope, didn't just confirm a scandal. It confirmed a betrayal that had been hidden behind royal gates for years. And the aftermath? Utter chaos. The British monarchy, already stumbling from modern scrutiny, was now facing the most devastating personal scandal since the days of Princess Diana. But how did we get here? Why was this DNA test even necessary? And what happens now that the truth is finally out? Let's take a deeper look at the royal crisis that no amount of crown jewels can cover up. The affair rumors that refused to die. It all began with whispers, quiet at first, but persistent. In royal circles and British high society, people had long speculated about Prince William's relationship with Rose Hanbury. She wasn't just another aristocrat. She was a former model, the Marchioness of Cholmondeley, and a woman who once shared a friendship with Kate Middleton. But around 2019, something shifted. Kate reportedly demanded that Rose be phased out of their social circle, and that raised eyebrows everywhere. The British press, always cautious with royal matters, didn't report much. But the internet? It was ablaze. Social media exploded with theories, comparisons, and timelines. Photos were dissected. Eye contact at events was analyzed. And most damning of all, people started noticing Rose's son and his uncanny resemblance to a young William. As the rumor mill churned, it became impossible to ignore the growing suspicion that something more than just friendship had occurred behind palace doors. The secret court case. The palace tried to hide. While the public debated gossip, something serious was happening behind the scenes. According to inside sources, a legal case was quietly filed. Not in the royal family's name, but possibly by a guardian, extended family member, or third party connected to Rose Hanbury. The question at hand: the true paternity of her son. The proceedings were kept as private as possible. The British legal system, especially when it comes to royalty, allows for strict confidentiality orders. No cameras, no reporters, no leaks. But even the tightest royal lid can't hold forever. Documents were sealed, court schedules altered, and entire days went unrecorded. The palace's legal team worked overtime to keep everything out of public view. But with internet sleuths always watching and public curiosity growing, the secrecy only fueled the fire. The silence spoke louder than any denial. The DNA test that changed everything. Eventually, the court ordered what everyone feared: a DNA test. Just one swab could either end the rumors or confirm the royal family's worst nightmare. Prince William reportedly cooperated, but under the assumption that the test would clear his name. After all, he had denied the rumors for years. Surely it would come back negative. But it didn't. Sources close to the case say that when the test results were read, The courtroom fell into stunned silence. The child was his. The result was definitive. And Prince William, stoic, proud, and groomed for the throne, reportedly collapsed into a chair, overwhelmed by the weight of the truth. It wasn't just the shock of fathering a secret child. It was the realization that his private sins were no longer protected by royal privilege. Rose Hanbury's chilling silence. Since the beginning of the affair rumors, Rose Hanbury has remained silent. No interviews, no clarifying statements, no denials. And in the wake of the DNA confirmation, that silence has become even louder. Observers noted that her public appearances have been carefully managed. Always brief, always tense. There's no joy in her eyes, no pride, just pressure. Some believe she was paid off. Others suggest she was threatened or heavily pressured by the monarchy to stay quiet. Either way, her refusal to speak has only deepened public suspicion. If she had nothing to hide, wouldn't she say something? But silence is its own statement. And in this case, it's the kind that tells you there's a bigger story lurking in the shadows. Rose isn't just staying quiet for her son. She may be shielding the entire House of Windsor from a scandal so large, it could upend everything. Kate Middleton, the betrayed princess. And then there's Kate, the woman the world once adored as the People's Princess 2.0. Elegant, composed, and fiercely loyal to the crown, Kate has endured more public pressure than most could imagine. But in recent months, her complete disappearance from royal life raised more than a few eyebrows. The official explanation was abdominal surgery, followed by a recovery period. But no surgery explains months of silence. No illness can account for a complete shutdown of appearances and communications. And with the DNA scandal now exposed, everything makes sense. Kate Middleton was not healing from surgery. She was healing from heartbreak, betrayal, public humiliation, the collapse of the perfect royal image she built over decades. What do you do when your husband, not just a man, but the future king, has fathered a child outside your marriage? What do you tell your children? How do you smile for cameras knowing millions are waiting to read your face? Sources claim Kate has been struggling emotionally and has considered separation. Whether or not that happens remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. Kate is not just a bystander in this mess. She's the real victim. Buckingham Palace in full panic mode. No surprise, when the DNA results surfaced, Buckingham Palace scrambled into damage control. Every crisis protocol was activated. Legal teams sent gag orders. Media houses were warned. And palace insiders began feeding tabloids with fluff stories to distract from the real storm brewing behind the gates. This isn't the first time the royal family has dealt with scandal. But this is personal. This is explosive. And it's happening in an age where no secret stays buried. Gone are the days when royal affairs could be swept under a velvet rug. Now, the truth lives forever on the internet, and the palace knows it. There are whispers that senior royals are considering drastic image-saving moves. A rebranding of William, a potential public reconciliation with Kate, or perhaps, if things spiral, a quiet agreement for William to step back from royal duties for health reasons. The British royal family is at a crossroads. The truth about Prince William and Rose Hanbury's son is no longer a rumor. It's a confirmed reality. And with that truth comes a ripple effect that could change the monarchy forever. Will Kate Middleton walk away? Will William ever regain public trust? Can the palace keep this story from growing even bigger? Or is this the beginning of the end for the next generation of royals? No matter what happens next, one thing is certain. The crown is heavier than ever. And for Prince William, the future king who collapsed in court, the burden of truth may be the one weight even royalty can't carry. The truth is out, and nothing will ever be the same. As the royal family faces one of its biggest scandals, the world is left with more questions than answers.
The People's Princess is dead across the country, across the world.
I think when you are bereaved at a very young age, anytime really, but particularly at a young age, I can resonate closely to that. You feel pain like no other pain, and you know that in your life it's going to be very difficult to come across something that's going to be even worse pain than that.
The story of Princess Diana's death is one that touched millions of hearts around the world. Her tragic passing in 1997 left an indelible mark not just on the royal family, but on the public as well. Her two sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, were at the center of this tragedy, and they experienced grief in ways few can truly understand. But for years, Prince William has remained notably silent about his mother's death, choosing not to publicly discuss his feelings or the impact it had on him. This silence has intrigued many people, sparking questions about why he chooses not to openly share his emotions regarding such a pivotal moment in his life. William's grief journey. The death of Princess Diana in 1997 left an indelible mark on the royal family, particularly on her two young sons, William and Harry. At just 15 years old, William found himself in an impossible position. His world had been shattered, yet he was still expected to fulfill his duties as a royal. Grief, for William, couldn't simply be dealt with in private. It had to coexist with the very public role he played as the future king. One of the most striking moments of this struggle came during his mother's funeral. The world watched in shock as William, along with his younger brother Harry, walked behind Diana's coffin during the procession. This was a public display of mourning like no other. For the young princes, it was a deeply emotional moment that required them to put on a brave face and fulfill a royal duty. Imagine the weight on their shoulders, grieving the loss of their mother while knowing millions of people were watching, their every step scrutinized by the press. For William, this wasn't just a royal duty. It was a moment that forced him to balance his personal grief with the expectations placed on him as the future monarch. As he walked behind the coffin, there were mixed emotions: sorrow, anger, and perhaps a deep sense of duty to his mother's memory. While the world mourned Diana, for William, this was a personal, raw experience that few could truly understand. Over the years, William has rarely spoken about his grief in public. However, when he has shared his feelings, it's been an emotional experience for both him and his audience. In a 2017 BBC documentary marking 20 years since his mother's death, William opened up about the confusion and pain he felt during those early days of grief. He described how, at the time, he couldn't fully process what had happened. Like many who experience sudden loss, William was left questioning why this had to happen to him and his family. "I remember just feeling completely numb, disorientated, dizzy," William said in the documentary. For a young boy of 15, the loss of his mother in such a violent and sudden manner was almost too much to comprehend. The emotional confusion he felt then was something that stayed with him for years as he struggled to make sense of the pain. It was clear that, for William, the grief wasn't something that could easily be explained or understood in words. It was a process, one that would take years to unravel. This deep emotional conflict continued for years as William tried to navigate life as both a grieving son and a future king. In interviews, he has often mentioned how difficult it was to reconcile the private side of his emotions with the public role he was expected to play. There's a powerful contrast in these reflections. On one hand, he was a young man mourning the loss of his mother, and on the other, he was part of the royal family, expected to uphold the dignity and traditions of his position. The tension between these two sides of his life was undoubtedly overwhelming at times. Despite the public nature of his life, Prince William has always emphasized the importance of privacy in his grief journey. In fact, he has often spoken about how critical it was for him to have space away from the media and public attention during those early days after Diana's death. Obviously, back then, we didn't have smartphones or constant media coverage. We were fortunate to have the privacy to mourn, to collect our thoughts, and to have that space away from everybody, William said in the 2017 BBC documentary. This privacy, granted by the royal family, was a rare gift. It allowed William to process his emotions without the added pressure of being in the public eye. In many ways, it gave him the chance to just be a boy who had lost his mother, rather than a royal figure who was expected to be strong for the public. This sanctuary was invaluable as he navigated the complexities of grief, away from the constant scrutiny of the media and the royal duties that often left him little time for himself. William has mentioned that the role of his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, in helping shield him from the overwhelming media coverage during this time was crucial. In one interview, he recalled how his grandmother made an effort to protect him and Harry from seeing the intense media frenzy surrounding their mother's death. It was a tough decision for the Queen, balancing her responsibilities as monarch with her love and care for her grandchildren, but it was one that gave William and Harry a chance to mourn privately. Another aspect of William's grief journey that he shared with the public is how he found solace in nature, especially in the Scottish outdoors. After hearing the devastating news of his mother's passing, William was at Balmoral Castle, the royal family's residence in Scotland. In a speech many years later, William spoke about how the Scottish countryside offered him a sense of peace and refuge during those dark days. The service at Crathie Kirk that very morning, and in the dark days that followed, I found comfort and solace in the Scottish outdoors, William reflected. The beauty of the Scottish landscape provided him with an emotional escape, a place where he could process his feelings in peace, away from the chaos of royal duties and the media frenzy. For William, the hills and forests of Scotland became more than just a backdrop for his grief. They became a sanctuary, a place where he could feel a little closer to his mother and a little further from the overwhelming sadness that clouded his life at the time. This connection to Scotland remains significant for William even today. As an adult, he continues to speak fondly of the country, acknowledging that it holds both some of his happiest memories and some of his saddest. It was in Scotland that he first met his wife, Kate Middleton, and it remains a place where he and his family retreat for both joy and reflection. But the bond that William feels to Scotland, especially in the wake of his mother's death, is undeniable. The outdoor spaces offered him a break from the demands of royal life and gave him a safe place to process his grief. Changing narrative. Over time. For most of Prince William's life, the public rarely heard him speak about the tragic death of his mother, Princess Diana. His reluctance to address such a personal and painful loss became one of the mysteries of his royal life. Why did the heir to the British throne, often seen as open and approachable, choose to stay quiet about the death of the woman who had shaped much of his early years? For years, this silence sparked much speculation and curiosity among royal watchers and the general public. What was really going on behind closed doors? In the years following Diana's tragic passing in 1997, William, then just 15 years old, seemed to bury his emotions. Like many people who experience such an overwhelming loss at a young age, he was left to grapple with grief in a deeply private way. The media, in particular, was eager for any hint of what the prince might say about his mother's death. But William, who was just stepping into the role of a young royal, had other priorities. His focus, understandably, was on dealing with his grief in private. In the early years, his silence could have been attributed to a combination of personal choice and the nature of the royal family's approach to public life. The royal family, historically, has not been known for openly discussing personal emotions or grief. The Windsors, often seen as the epitome of stoicism, maintained a strong sense of duty, which meant that personal suffering was rarely displayed for public consumption. For William, this cultural expectation likely added to the weight of his grief. How could he speak openly about his mother when there were so many royal duties to attend to, and so many eyes watching him? However, as time passed, something began to shift. It's important to understand that Prince William, like many others who experience intense grief, likely found that bottling up emotions and avoiding the topic of his mother's death was not sustainable in the long term. And while he may not have been ready to open up immediately after Diana's death, it was clear that the pain of losing her would not simply fade away. It wasn't until much later that William began to speak more openly about his loss, showing a vulnerability that, in many ways, marked a significant departure from the usual royal behavior. It's important to highlight how, over time, William began to understand that sharing his grief wasn't a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. Slowly, but surely, he began to break his silence in public forums, making it clear that the boy who once kept his emotions hidden was now ready to talk about the pain he had carried for so many years. One of the most notable moments of this shift came when William joined his brother Harry in 2017 for a BBC documentary called Diana, 7 Days. This was a landmark moment because, for the first time, the two brothers were able to speak openly about their mother's death and the grief they had experienced in the years since. In the documentary, William admitted that he still struggled with the pain of her loss, revealing that even as an adult, the emotional scars remained. He also acknowledged how his mother's death had affected him in more profound ways than he had been able to express before. This was not the typical stoic royal response we were accustomed to seeing. It was raw, honest, and incredibly moving. But perhaps the most significant change in William's approach to discussing his grief came through his active involvement in mental health advocacy. In 2016, Prince William, along with his wife, Kate Middleton, and his brother Harry, launched the Heads Together campaign, a groundbreaking initiative aimed at promoting mental health awareness and encouraging open conversations about mental well-being. The campaign's core message was clear. It's okay to talk about your feelings, especially when you're going through tough times. For William, Heads Together represented more than just a charitable cause. It became an outlet for him to channel his own experiences of loss, grief, and mental health challenges into something positive. His decision to speak out about his own struggles, particularly his battle with grief after losing Diana, served as an inspiration to many. It also sent a powerful message to others who were silently suffering from their own mental health challenges. If the Duke of Cambridge, a member of the royal family, could talk about his emotions, then surely others could too. Through the Heads Together campaign, William made it clear that mental health was not a subject to be avoided or swept under the rug. He spoke about the importance of mental health care, particularly for men, who often feel societal pressure to hide their emotions and act tough. As part of the campaign, William, Harry, and Kate engaged in open discussions with mental health professionals and those who had personally experienced mental health challenges, offering both a platform for discussion and a sense of solidarity. William's personal involvement in Heads Together has undoubtedly helped shift the narrative around mental health within the royal family and beyond. He shared his experiences with the public, including how he had struggled with his emotions in the aftermath of Diana's death. He admitted that, for many years, he didn't allow himself to process his feelings properly. This, he explained, led to long periods of stress and anxiety, which is not uncommon for those who experience a deep and unresolved loss. In the years since, William has continued to be a vocal advocate for mental health, speaking candidly about the importance of dealing with grief in a healthy and constructive way. His openness about his own struggles has been a powerful example for others, especially for men who may feel societal pressure not to express vulnerability. By sharing his own grief journey, William has helped make the topic of mental health more approachable and less stigmatized, and in doing so, he has set an example for countless individuals who are navigating their own emotional challenges. William's evolving narrative, from silence to openness, has shown the world that it is okay to face difficult emotions and share them with others. He has gradually broken down the barriers that once kept him silent about his mother's death, showing that even someone in his position is not immune to the complexities of grief and loss. It is a journey that many can relate to, whether they are public figures or private individuals. William's decision to share his grief publicly is a reflection of the changing attitudes toward mental health and emotional well-being in society. What once was considered a private matter is now being discussed openly, thanks in no small part to William's efforts to break the stigma surrounding mental health. By opening up about his own experience, William has not only honored the memory of his mother, Princess Diana, but he has also given others the courage to confront their own emotional pain and find healing in the process. As we look to the future, William's ongoing work in mental health advocacy will undoubtedly continue to inspire others to share their stories and seek help when needed. Through his example, he has shown that while grief is a deeply personal journey, it's also a shared experience that connects us all. And in that shared experience, there is hope, healing, and strength. Insights into William's silence. Prince William's silence on the death of his mother, Princess Diana, has long been a subject of intrigue and speculation. While it's easy to assume that his quietness stems from simply being a private person, the reality is much deeper. There are multiple reasons behind why William has chosen not to openly discuss such a tragic event in his life. His silence isn't just about keeping personal emotions hidden. It's also about a mix of personal emotional considerations, strategic image management, and a deep respect for how grief affects individuals in unique ways. First and foremost, Prince William's decision to maintain privacy can be traced back to personal emotional reasons. The death of a parent, especially at a young age, is an overwhelming experience. William was just 15 when his mother passed away, and the emotional toll it took on him was immense. It's entirely understandable that, after such a traumatic event, he would feel the need to guard his emotions and avoid exposing them publicly. Grief, particularly when it involves the loss of someone as beloved as Princess Diana, is something that can't easily be shared in the public eye, especially when it's accompanied by the scrutiny and pressure that comes with being a member of the royal family. As William himself has expressed in various interviews, the initial shock left him feeling confused and disoriented, not knowing how to process such deep sorrow. For many people in similar situations, it's a natural instinct to retreat into privacy during such an emotionally charged time, and William's decision to do so was likely driven by the need to protect his emotional well-being. At the same time, Prince William's silence can also be seen as part of the royal family's strategy when it comes to managing their public image. The royal family has always been under intense public scrutiny, and their personal lives are often viewed through the lens of duty and tradition. By remaining somewhat private about his grief, William was, perhaps unconsciously, aligning with the royal tradition of keeping personal matters out of the public spotlight. Royals have long been expected to maintain a composed and controlled image, even in the face of tragedy. In the case of Diana's death, while the public mourned with the family, there was also an expectation that William, as the future king, would remain strong and dutiful. Public displays of grief were complicated by his royal status, and the family often finds itself in the delicate balance between showing emotion and fulfilling their royal roles. This sense of duty likely influenced William's decision to stay silent, at least publicly, as he navigated the immense personal loss while fulfilling his responsibilities. However, there is another layer to his silence: respect for the grieving process. Grief is not a one-size-fits-all experience. It affects people in different ways, and no two people cope with loss the same way. For Prince William, grieving his mother was undoubtedly a personal and private journey. He has been open about how difficult it was to find comfort in such a painful time, but he also emphasized how important it was for him to deal with his emotions on his own terms. This respect for personal grief is something that many can relate to, regardless of their status. People who go through profound loss often find solace in solitude or in other ways that may not be visible to the public eye. William's choice to not discuss his mother's passing immediately, or to do so selectively, highlights the understanding that grieving is something deeply personal. It's not something that can always be shared, especially when the world is watching. William's approach to grief, especially over the years, has been more about quietly honoring his mother's memory and legacy, rather than dwelling on the pain. He has started to speak about her death more openly in recent years, especially through his work with mental health initiatives like Heads Together. This shift has allowed him to frame his grief in a way that could help others who are struggling with loss, making it a way to connect rather than to publicly mourn. In doing so, he has gradually opened up about his emotions, but in a way that feels right for him, slowly and on his own terms. This speaks to a larger point about the royal family's evolving attitude toward mental health and emotions, with William becoming more of an advocate for others who may be grieving in silence, just as he did. The bottom line is that Prince William's silence about his mother's death should not be seen as indifference or avoidance. Instead, it reflects a complex mix of emotional protection, royal duty, and respect for the unique ways people grieve. It's a reminder that grief is not something that can always be shared in a public space. It's deeply personal and varies greatly from person to person. As time has passed, William and Harry would continue to carry the weight of their mother's death with them. For William, his grief was something he buried deep within himself for a long time. As a teenager, he felt the pressure to be strong and composed, both for his family and for the public. His duty as a future king meant that he couldn't afford to let his emotions take over. It was only much later, as an adult, that he began to open up more about his grief and the impact it had on him. The royal family's response to Diana's death was shaped by a complex mixture of personal grief and public duty. While the Queen's efforts to protect William and Harry were crucial during the early days, it was clear that there was no easy way for the young princes to process such a monumental loss. The experience of grief, especially for someone as young as William, is never linear. It is a journey that is personal, sometimes private, and often difficult to navigate. And for William, as he later acknowledged, it would be a long time before he could fully process the depth of his loss and what it meant for his life moving forward. Now, we want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Prince William's silence was the best way to cope with his grief? Or do you believe he should have spoken more openly about it? Drop a comment below to share your perspective. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with others who might find this story just as captivating. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on more royal insights.
I haven't really scraped the surface on my experience, but I do think that I would never want someone else to feel that way.
As one of the most publicized royal couples in modern history, the lives of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have been under constant scrutiny. Their every move, every word, and every decision have been analyzed by the press and the public. However, no one could have predicted the emotional moment that would soon unfold between them. Prince Harry, known for his candidness and open heart, found himself in tears after witnessing an unexpected transformation in his wife, Meghan Markle. This wasn't just any change, it was a shift that caught everyone by surprise. What could have possibly led to this? Meghan, who had always been seen as a strong and independent woman, had undergone a dramatic personal evolution. This transformation was both visible and emotional, and for Harry, it represented a new chapter in their lives together. For a woman who had once faced relentless criticism and had to fight against public perception, this was a moment of reckoning. It was not only a realization of her own growth, but also a turning point for their family as a whole. As the couple navigated the challenges of living outside the royal spotlight, Meghan began to evolve in ways that even Prince Harry hadn't anticipated. The impact of this transformation, both on her and on their relationship, would soon become undeniable. She was no longer just the Duchess of Sussex, a figure defined by royal duty and protocol. Meghan had stepped into her own, taking control of her personal and professional life, advocating for causes she believed in, and shedding the weight of the media's harsh judgment. This new Meghan was someone Harry had never seen before. She was confident, outspoken, and unapologetically herself. This moment of change wasn't just a superficial shift in her image. It was a deeper transformation that affected her entire being. It was a reawakening, and in Harry's eyes, it was a revelation. Meghan had not just changed her role in the world, she had evolved into the woman she was always meant to be. And this change would shape the future of their lives together. This chapter of their journey, though full of challenges, marked the beginning of a new, more authentic era for both of them. Meghan's journey of self-discovery. Meghan Markle's transformation did not happen overnight. It was the result of years of personal growth, the pressure of being in the public eye, and the emotional weight of the criticism she faced. After stepping down from royal duties, Meghan found herself at a crossroads. She was no longer just a royal. She was a mother, a wife, and a woman rediscovering her voice. What led to this pivotal change? Meghan's journey of self-discovery began with her stepping away from the constant media coverage that had once defined her life. She and Harry sought refuge in their new home, far from the prying eyes of the press. And Meghan finally had the space to breathe, to think, and to explore who she truly was beyond the expectations of royalty. With the support of Prince Harry, she found the courage to explore her own identity without the constraints of royal life. No longer living in the shadow of tradition, Meghan was able to redefine her purpose, becoming an advocate for causes she truly believed in. As Meghan continued her work with various charities and causes, her self-assurance grew. She used her platform to speak out about racial inequality, women's rights, and mental health, issues that were close to her heart. Her activism became her voice in a world that had once tried to silence her. She found joy in helping others, in using her position for good. Meghan was no longer the woman defined by public opinion or royal expectations. Instead, she was finding peace in who she truly was. This newfound clarity transformed Meghan, not only in how she carried herself, but in how she approached life and her role in the world. Meghan had always been a driven and ambitious woman, but as she found her voice outside of royal duties, she blossomed in a way that no one, not even Harry, had fully anticipated. Her transformation wasn't just about stepping into her power. It was about shedding the past, the labels, and the limitations that had been placed on her. Meghan was free to be unapologetically herself, and she was embracing it with every step she took. Harry's reaction: a changed man. For Prince Harry, this transformation was both inspiring and overwhelming. As someone who had always been protective of Meghan, watching her embrace this new version of herself brought tears to his eyes. It wasn't just the change in Meghan that affected him. It was the profound effect it had on their relationship. The emotional toll of being under constant media scrutiny had been wearing on both of them, but Harry saw a side of Meghan that he had never witnessed before. She was no longer burdened by the weight of royal obligations or public expectations. Instead, she was free. Free to live life on her terms. Free to be the woman she had always wanted to be. And free to stand beside her husband as an equal in every sense. This wasn't just about watching his wife succeed. It was about watching her embrace a version of herself that Harry had always believed she could be. But now he was seeing it unfold before his very eyes. This transformation allowed Harry to see a deeper connection between them. It wasn't just about the love they shared. It was about the strength they had found in each other. Meghan's transformation represented the growth of their relationship, as they were no longer just navigating the pressures of royal life, but truly living for one another. Harry realized that, just as Meghan had grown into her own, he too had evolved, becoming more attuned to her needs and desires, and more open to his own growth. Harry's tears were not just a reaction to Meghan's newfound confidence. They were a reflection of the deep bond they shared. They had weathered the storm of public scrutiny together, and in doing so, had learned to grow together as individuals and as a couple. This journey had strengthened their connection in ways they never thought possible. The emotional growth they had undergone was a testament to the power of love, mutual respect, and understanding. The road ahead. As Meghan's transformation continued, Prince Harry also experienced his own changes. The couple began to embrace new challenges and opportunities, leading them down paths they never imagined when they first met. They were no longer trapped by the expectations of the royal family or the weight of public opinion. Instead, they were charting their own course, together. The journey ahead was not without its obstacles, but the bond between Harry and Meghan had never been stronger. They had weathered the storm of public scrutiny together, and in the process, they had both transformed, Meghan into a confident, empowered woman, and Harry into a man who understood the true power of love, vulnerability, and emotional growth. As Meghan's voice became louder, Harry's support for her became stronger. He was no longer the prince who had once followed the family's dictates. He had evolved into a man who made his own decisions, fought for his beliefs, and supported his wife wholeheartedly in doing the same. Together, they were no longer just a couple in the public eye. They were a family, navigating life with purpose, authenticity, and an unbreakable bond. This unexpected transformation was just the beginning of a new chapter for them both. As they moved forward, they were more than just the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They were powerful advocates, compassionate leaders, and loving parents. And no matter what the future held, they were ready to face it together. The media's shift in perception. For years, Meghan Markle had been relentlessly pursued by the media. She had been vilified for every decision, every action, and every move she made. From her relationship with Prince Harry to her departure from royal duties, the press was quick to judge, scrutinize, and criticize her. However, something began to change. As Meghan grew into her new role outside the royal family, there was a noticeable shift in how she was portrayed. The public began to see Meghan not just as a controversial figure, but as someone who was standing firm in her own truth. Her transformation, both personal and professional, was undeniable. She became more involved in her charitable work, using her platform to speak out on social issues, including racial inequality, women's rights, and mental health. With every new project she took on, she became more visible, not just as a former royal, but as a powerful voice in her own right. This shift wasn't just about changing how she was portrayed. It was also about how Meghan chose to embrace the changing narrative. As she delved deeper into issues she was passionate about, her voice began to resonate more with people who had once seen her as the villain in a royal soap opera. It wasn't just about her being an ex-royal. It was about the actions she was taking and the stories she was telling. With each interview, charity initiative, and public appearance, Meghan demonstrated an unwavering commitment to using her influence for good. The world began to see her not just as someone connected to royalty, but as someone capable of bringing change. For the first time in years, the media couldn't simply box her into the narratives they had created. Meghan had taken control of her own story, and the world watched in awe as the woman who had once been criticized for every move she made became a beacon of empowerment and change. The same media outlets that had once taken aim at her were now forced to acknowledge the remarkable transformation she had undergone. They were left to ask, how did Meghan Markle go from being an international target of negativity to a woman of influence, advocacy, and self-assurance? It wasn't just about breaking free from royal constraints. It was about taking control of her narrative, both for herself and for her family. Prince Harry's support. A rock through it all. Prince Harry's unwavering support from Meghan throughout this entire transformation has been pivotal. While Meghan was busy redefining herself, Harry stood by her side, providing emotional support and encouragement. His role in this transformation cannot be understated. He was the one person who saw Meghan not just as the former Duchess of Sussex, but as the woman she was becoming. Harry, who himself had undergone his own evolution in the public eye, understood better than anyone what it was like to have the world scrutinize every aspect of your life. Having lived much of his life in the shadow of his mother's tragic death and the ensuing media frenzy, Harry knew the pressures that came with public attention. He had always struggled with the weight of the expectations placed on him, and when Meghan entered his life, he found someone who shared similar burdens. He admired her resilience and strength from the very beginning, knowing how difficult it must have been for her to face constant criticism, especially as a woman of color. As Meghan embraced her new role outside the royal family, Harry supported her every step of the way. He was always the one behind the scenes, keeping her grounded when the media came after her or when she doubted herself. His constant encouragement allowed Meghan to stand taller, speak louder, and become the person she always wanted to be. Harry, who had always been seen as the more rebellious royal, was the first to understand the need for Meghan to step into her power. For him, this was not just about supporting his wife. It was about witnessing her become the woman who had always been inside her, waiting to break free. Meghan's transformation wasn't just a personal triumph. It was a collective one, and Harry's love, support, and commitment to her were essential parts of the journey. As they walked this new path together, Harry realized that their marriage had not only survived, it had thrived. It had deepened, strengthened, and evolved, just like Meghan herself. The impact on their marriage. As Meghan's transformation unfolded, so too did the bond between her and Harry. The changes in Meghan weren't just personal. She was evolving as a partner, a mother, and a public figure. These shifts in her life were naturally going to affect her marriage to Harry, but rather than causing strain, it only seemed to strengthen their connection. They had always been a team, but now they were navigating life with a deeper understanding of each other's needs, dreams, and desires. The couple had always been open about the challenges they faced, especially in the public eye. But as Meghan stepped into her own power, Harry realized how much he had underestimated her potential. He had seen her face adversity with grace, but it was only now that he truly understood the depth of her strength. As Meghan found her voice, it brought a new dimension to their relationship, one that was based on mutual growth and respect. Their marriage became a partnership not just in the sense of love and support, but in ambition and purpose. They were no longer just the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They were two individuals united by a shared mission to change the world for the better. What's more, the emotional connection between them deepened. No longer did they merely have a relationship built on shared history and royal obligations. They had become two souls with aligned visions for the future. Meghan's transformation allowed Harry to see a new side of her, a side that reflected strength, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to making a difference. And this new side of Meghan inspired Harry to continue evolving alongside her, adapting and growing just as she had. Every milestone Meghan achieved, Harry celebrated with her, knowing that each success was a testament to her unwavering determination. But beyond the successes, Harry also cherished the quiet moments with her, moments that spoke volumes about the true nature of their relationship. Together, they were stronger than ever, and they knew they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead, raising their family with new values. As Meghan transformed, so too did the way she and Harry approached their roles as parents. Their children, Archie and Lilibet, were growing up in a different world than the one Harry had experienced. While Harry had been raised within the confines of royal tradition, his own children would have the freedom to explore the world on their own terms. Meghan's transformation had instilled in both her and Harry a deep desire to raise their children with values of kindness, empathy, and independence, values that they themselves held dear. Meghan's work, advocating for women's rights, racial equality, and mental health, became an integral part of their family's mission. She and Harry began to raise their children with an understanding of the world beyond their own experiences, instilling in them a sense of responsibility to make a positive impact on the world. The couple emphasized the importance of using their platform for good, teaching their children that their voices mattered and that they had the power to make a difference. Raising children outside the royal spotlight, Meghan and Harry sought to provide them with a more normal upbringing, one that balanced fame with the simple joys of life. They encouraged their kids to appreciate the value of hard work, compassion, and community. Their household was one filled with love, learning, and an ongoing commitment to creating a better world. Meghan's transformation had given them both the tools to parent in a way that was thoughtful, grounded, and future-focused. As they raised their children, Meghan's transformation became a touchstone for how they would lead their family. They wanted to ensure that their children grew up with a sense of purpose, just as Meghan had found. It wasn't just about wealth or privilege, it was about compassion, integrity, and a deep commitment to improving the world. Meghan and Harry wanted to give their children the tools to live meaningful lives, grounded in the values that had come to define their own personal journeys. The emotional moment that changed everything. The day that Prince Harry found himself in tears, witnessing Meghan's transformation, marked a pivotal moment in their relationship and in their lives. It wasn't just the change in Meghan herself, it was the realization of how far they had come together. Meghan, once uncertain and unsure of her place in the world, had transformed into a confident and powerful force, and Harry couldn't have been more proud. The tears weren't born out of sadness. Rather, they came from a deep well of emotion, gratitude, and awe at the woman Meghan had become. He saw in her everything he had always admired: her strength, her intelligence, her unwavering commitment to making the world a better place. But most importantly, he saw in her the partner he had always hoped for, a woman who would not just walk beside him, but lead with him. In that moment, Harry realized that they had grown together as individuals and as a couple, and their journey had only just begun. The tears reflected the joy he felt for Meghan's transformation, but they also symbolized the realization that they were on the verge of something even greater, a future built on love, support, and shared values. And no matter what challenges lay ahead, Harry knew they could face them together, moving forward together. The transformation of Meghan Markle had not only affected her, but it had changed the entire course of her and Harry's lives. As they moved forward, they did so with a renewed sense of purpose. Meghan's newfound strength and confidence had breathed new life into their relationship, and together, they were forging ahead with a vision for the future that was uniquely their own. The journey had been long, filled with obstacles and challenges, but Meghan and Harry had come out stronger on the other side. They were no longer the couple that had been constantly scrutinized by the press. They had become two individuals who had found their own voices and were using them to create lasting change. The world had watched their transformation, and now, as they stepped into the future, the world would see the powerful partnership they had built. What does the future hold for Meghan and Harry? Their transformation is just the beginning of a new chapter, one that will undoubtedly shape their legacy and inspire others to embrace change and growth in their own lives. Stay tuned to see how their story continues to unfold. What do you think of Meghan Markle's incredible transformation? Do you believe it was the key to strengthening her relationship with Prince Harry? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates. Also, click on the next video that appears on your screen. You won't want to miss it.